As a leader, one of the things that I was struggling with is staying in front of everything coming my way. I had spent my career, using a work ethic, lead by example style of leadership, which I tell you still really matters. But what Karen taught me was how to work smarter, how to have power blocks of work and get out of the day-to-day and be much more strategic as a leader. The thing that was the catalyst for really seeing this was the pandemic. Quite honestly, there were a lot of things coming our way and decisions that had to be made by the hour. And it was evident to me that intuition, working hard, wasn't going to build success. And so one of the most profound things that Karen did for me during that period was said, build a strategy. What does success look like on the other side of the pandemic? And what decisions would you make based on that success? Because there was so much noise. And so intuition as a leadership style versus discipline was not going to cut it during that time period. So, one of the great examples of, I think, a decision made during the pandemic that I wouldn't have made without the help of Karen was I knew we needed to make some changes to the leadership team. And I remember I consulted Karen and I said, this is a tough time to do that with everything going on. And she said, what does success look like down the road versus today? And what it did is it gave me the courage to keep moving forward, doing the things that were going to build long-term results rather than focused on what you're intuitively thinking should happen today. One of the great outcomes of the coaching from Karen is it really allowed me to have the whole team level up, because once you hold yourself to a different standard and you see the results you can achieve, you realize that's the best gift you can give someone you're mentoring is the same type of education. One good example that probably wouldn't seem obvious to a lot of CEOs and leaders is I didn't know how to properly renew. I thought renewing was riding my bike 3 hours on the weekend, doing all the things that release stress, but those weren't true rest. And Karen pressed me on that. Well, so you think sitting on a bike 3 hours is rest? And eventually I figured out, having some time on the weekend where you really just rest, you read, you give your brain that space and your body the rest it needs matters. The biggest reason to engage with Karen and her team is I think most leaders reach a point where the things that they were really good at that got them to the position they're in today are not going to be enough to get them to the next place. And I've heard leaders say leaders are born, they can't be taught. And my response to that is, yes, you may have some innate qualities, some skills, but Yo-Yo Ma did not get out of bed and just play concerts with the cello. He practiced. And having someone like Karen as your coach and teacher, it will raise your performance. The leader I had before at First Bank would say he didn't believe in coaching because he said leaders are born, they can't be taught. And I would say, let's say Tom Brady, probably the best quarterback ever, had a nutritionist, a strength coach, a psychologist, probably needed a marriage counselor too, as it turned out. But anyway, but yeah, and in fact, I've had a little break here for the last 3-4 months, and I'm probably going to re-engage with Karen. I don't know how much she shared. This is a great bank, but it's a bit of a turnaround. If you go look, it's performing below peers, and it's been a lot of work. And I didn't need to do it. I could be retired, but I'm like, you know what? I like a challenge. And yesterday we had a kind of state of the bank town hall, and I got some emails that literally brought tears to my eyes. They were just like, because the previous leader was not transparent, not open to being challenged. And the one person said, I've been here 20 years and I'm ready to go because I could see the transparency. I'm ready to run through whatever walls you want me to run through because I can tell you're the real deal. And it's just being humble, and it isn't being humble, it's being you. It's being authentic.